Hey everyone, Vintage Vinny here, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be looking at the original and reproduction of the 1904 Coca-Cola tip tray. So if you said that the tray on the left is an original and the tray on the right is a reproduction, congratulations, you are absolutely correct. I've been collecting these trays for probably 12 to 13 years, and within that time frame, I've learned a lot about what to look for in the originals and in the reproductions. And since there aren't a lot of videos out there depicting the difference between the two, I thought this would be a great series for my channel. Now, I've done this a few times in the last few years, going over some of the trays that I was able to acquire and some of the reproduction trays that I was able to acquire for a reasonable price. I do not pay a lot for the reproductions because, in my opinion, and quite factually, if you look at the eBay market, they are just not worth a lot of money. So anytime I can find these at a reasonable price, I will pick them up because they are a good educational tool. So let's go ahead and examine the original first, and then we'll take a look at the reproduction, and then we will do a side-by-side comparison. So the original tip tray, as you can see, is very bright and very detailed. Let me pick it up so you guys can see it a little bit better. Forgive the glare. I don't know if this is going to show up very well, but in the tail of the C in Coca, let's see if I can get it to focus. It's probably not. It's very faint, but there is a very faint trademark registered logo in the bottom. Like I said, it's very, very hard to see, but once you get a close-up of it, you will see it, like with a jeweler's loop or something. It is there. Again, note the sharp crispness of the imagery of this piece. It is just absolutely exquisite. Sometimes some of the trays that I've acquired has some writing on the gold part, but I don't see that on this one. Here is the back. I think this is supposed to be black. Of course, you can see there is rusting to it. But again, it is just an absolutely amazing piece. I want to say I scored this on eBay for like 40 bucks. Maybe it was like 50. $40 to $50 is what I paid for this, and I felt that that was an extremely fair price for this. Here are some of the other features on this tray here. The intricate border, as well as the, looks like coffee beans. Looks like there's coffee beans on the outside, or cocoa beans in those little yellow things. So that's a really, really neat tray, I think. Whoop, that's completely showing a glare there. So that is the original tray. So there are quite a few ways to help you determine that this is indeed a reproduction tray. The first one being very obvious, it does say printed in 1973, copyright the Coca-Cola Company, 1904. Now note that the blue border / background is a lot brighter than in the original one. And when we do the side-by-side comparison, you'll see what I mean. Also, under the Coca-Cola, it says Reg US Padoff. I believe that didn't start until after World War II, so we're talking the first tray that they released during or after World War II was the Girl with the Wind in Her Hair. That was I think, released in 1950. The ad is from, I think, 1948. And they started putting Reg US Pad Off on those trays. Then in 1953, the Coca-Cola Menu Grill tray came out, and the reason you see so many of those is due to the fact that they were made for about 7 years. So for between 1953 and 1960. So that's why the Coca-Cola Menu Grill tray, while she's very sought after by collectors, she's very common and she's the most affordable tray out there. Of course, the older trays you find, or the older the trays are, the more valuable they're going to be, especially based on condition. And then, of course, note that while the images are still, nice, they're just not as bright and vibrant as the originals. You can definitely tell that it just doesn't have that same crispness as the original. So yeah, again, just look for that 1973 copyright, which again is very, very obvious on the tray. And as you can see, we have kind of like a greenish color on the back. Now, some of the trays will have a gunmetal green background, or gunmetal backing to them, not background, excuse me. And so it can get kind of confusing depending on what you're looking at, but always just do your research and really study your trays if you want to make sure you are buying the right stuff here. And then, of course, I know the cocoa bean in the little yellow piece, again, may throw some people off. But again, it's very obvious that this is a reproduction because it says it right there. So that is the reproduction. All right, so here we are doing the side-by-side comparison. I know it's very, very hard to see on the original, but again, there is going to be a trademark in the tail of the C in Coca. On the original, it's going to say Reg US Pat Off. On the original, you're not going to see any copyright or anything like that in the very bottom of the tray as you do in the original. It says copyright 1973. Again, like I mentioned earlier, notice the sharp crispness of the original tray there. I mean, the colors are just absolutely exquisite. Now, the colors on the reproduction tray are very bright. They just don't have a sharp crispness to it like the original. So as you can see, we have a much sky ocean blue color on the reproduction, and then you have kind of a darker, almost like a smoky blue color on the original. Now, they do have the same borders, but the border is a lot darker than on the original. Of course, you've got the cocoa bean in the 4 panels on the tray on each of them. But again, note the sharp crispness and the just amazing colors on the original versus the reproduction. So let me go ahead and show you all the back real quick. So here are the backings of both of the trays. Like I mentioned, we have a black backing on the original, and we have a green backing on the reproduction. So this is another good way to tell that one tray is original and one tray is a reproduction. It is very important to make sure you know exactly what you have, because some people try to sell reproductions as originals. I've seen it in antique stores many times, and I have to always say, no, that is not a real deal tray. That is a reproduction. I have in the past, at one time, told somebody that they did have a reproduction. I think it was at an antique show type flea market, and they got kind of mad at me for that. But you know what? That's why it wasn't selling, because it was marketed as an original, and it was a reproduction. So I hope that this little video educated you and you learned a little bit about these. If I left any details out, you can always leave me a question in the comment section below of this video. Please make sure you thumb up the video, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you check out my other Coca-Cola tray tip videos so you can learn a little bit more about some of the trays that are out there. I do plan on doing more of these videos in the near future, so please stay tuned. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.